Here's another interesting artifact out of the junk bin. I've got an Arrakis. No, not Digi-Link. Digital Network Audio Controller 2 by Arrakis Systems, Incorporated. This is an old studio automation system from a radio station. I've got two of these. This one works, the other one doesn't. I've been fiddling around with this thing. I yanked the SCSI drives out of it and I was able to recover some data off them. This thing is the weirdest thing. It records, well, I mean, it's a bunch of proprietary boards in here, one of which being a SCSI controller. But this thing records audio data directly to the drive with no file system. So it's a pain in the ass to recover anything off it, but there is some stuff on those drives, so I'm pulling it. It's like some weird 80 PCM format, and some of it's just in, I wouldn't say regular wave, but raw PCM samples. Some of it's stereo, some of it's mono. It's like the sample rates are all over the damn place. Nobody picked a single sample rate and stuck with it. But I am able to recover it. I've got the entire contents of the SCSI drives, plus the IDE drives, the boot drives that had the software on them. So interestingly in here we've got a couple of boards. A disk buffer board, I think one of the, there it is. This one's a disk buffer board they call it. That's got the SCSI controller on it. It's got some, I think 2 megs of RAM. And that's what actually interfaces the audio software with the SCSI drive. This one is an audio board, and it does a bunch of stuff, including, well, I think this is the relay one. I'll look on the other one because I've got it apart. It controls this weird doohickey on the back of here that I've taken apart. It's an audio switcher built in, 5-channel audio switcher, and the software controls that so you can set up like satellite receivers and junk like that. And it's got op amps and junk. It's an active board. I thought it was just a case, but this has got stuff on it. It uses a weird old card edge connector. Check this out. I don't think I've ever seen one of these before. It's an IDC card edge connector. That's screwy. I'm going to keep that because probably, I doubt that it's worth anything, but it's an interesting artifact. So we got a bunch of weirdo boards in this thing, and you know, they're proprietary. DACs, 2 of which at least, digital analog converters, and I think there's an ADC in there too. Let's poke around yonder side. Here's one that's apart. I took the motherboard out of it. That one that you were just looking at was actually in good shape. The battery, which I have here, it's a miracle. It didn't leak. Whoops. Let me throw it at something. That'll be good. I'm sure that'll make it not leak. So the board I got out of it, this one, the board's not in so good a shape. I got to take it apart and see if I can actually make anything work on it. Probably not, because it looks pretty far gone. It's pretty badly corroded. To my stack of junk over here. Haven't had time to get through yet. Sort, whatever. Yeah, it's pretty rough. But it's a nice little 386 board, so if I can get this working, it's a half baby AT, I think they call it. I got a bunch of other stuff with this pile too. I got a nice 1542 SCSI controller. I got an IDE controller and 2S, 1P, 1G as usual. 2S, 1P, 1G. I don't know where the hell these all came from, but whatever. One of these other machines came with an awesome little relay card. It does input and output. You can see these are opto isolators. Got some sound cards here. That works with the other software that they used to use. Alright, now back to this. It looks to be that this board controls the relays and the switcher. Because it looks to have just a bunch of logic on it. Oh, I/O board, yeah. Digi-Link I/O board. Okay. So that controls the relays and stuff. This one has the SCSI controller on it. It's also got a 25-pin SCSI port. Well, that's probably 26, but That likely connects to this SCSI port on the back. I think it's the same pinout as the Mac is. That's a SCSI controller. It's an NCR 53C94. I don't know what this is, 52C61, but it's got two of those, one on each board. Don't know what that is. This is what they call the Digi-Link disk buffer board. 1992. Neat. But there's some good logic on here, if nothing else. I've got, I think that's 2 megs of RAM, because I've got that same RAM in the other machine. Now, so that's the SCSI controller. It's not compatible with anything I've ever found, and I can't find a DOS driver for that. That SCSI controller, 53C94, is in older Macs. Well, some older Macs. Sun machines and Silicon Graphics, SGI, among other things. I think a Next had that too, but I'm not sure. Linux can't see it. It's ISA. I haven't figured out a way to make Linux see it yet. But I don't think there's a port of Linux that runs on x86 architecture that... Ooh, crunchy. I love that. Chip creep. The thermal expansion cycles make these things pop out of the sockets. So they're really, really crunchy when you push them back in. It's awesome. I love it. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, so I don't think this SCSI chip is going to be compatible with DOS or Linux, and I don't think there's a driver. I couldn't find a driver on the boot disk, on the boot IDE hard drive. All right, so what do we got here? Is PCM 1700p, PCM. Oh, that's a different one. This is basically a sound card. 1700, 1750. I don't know what the difference is, but the data sheets are online. You can probably Google it and find out. This ADC 0808. That's probably an analog to digital converter that goes so you can record into the system. A lot of this other stuff I don't know. What's that Intel thing? 82C54. Huh. You know, I was looking for one of those for my XT board. Now I have one. Neat. I doubt this stuff... I'm going to try to keep one of these working just as a museum piece, but I doubt that any of this stuff has any value other than museum pieces. Yeah, so that's the sound card, and it has some kind of an interconnect with the SCSI board. Disk buffer board, but it's SCSI. And there you go. That's it. They've got regular, well, AT power supplies, I guess. Mini baby AT or whatever. Well, here. We got these. Regular old AT power supplies. But not the huge AT one, not the old ones, the sort of newer ones. The problem I'm having now is trying to get this thing to see this coprocessor. It's warm. I've got an oscillator on here. It's not the right one. It's a 24.576 meg, and this is a 40 megahertz 386SX, as is the other one. It's a different motherboard though on the other one. It does work, and I did manage to get it to see my CF cards, or my CF to IDE adapter, which is here. And I loaded Linux on it, which is kind of cool. But for some reason, no matter what I set the jumpers to on here, I'm going to do it with it live. Haha. Oh, it also doesn't like my CF card because I think it's too big. I'm going to try to put a 256 meg on there and see what happens. Alright, pull the power. Put power back in. Oh, another pain in the ass was, of course, neat. Another pain in the ass was, since this hole is too small for the keyboard adapter, I had to shave down my keyboard adapter to fit. You probably can't see it. Oh, there's another interesting thing about this thing, I'm going to keep repeating myself, is that instead of getting the proper connector for this, they just soldered the coax for the Ethernet connection onto the back of the card, and then it goes to right here. I've got a NE2000 clone Ethernet card in there with a RJ45 Cat 5 that just kind of runs over the back. Yeah, it doesn't, even though I've got the right parameters in there, it doesn't like my 2 gig CF card. Alright, let's see, numeric processor, none. But, we'll boot Linux and see what happens. Mount, root, /HTA1, RO. You want to always mount it read-only at first because Linux expects it to be read-only, and if it finds it read-write, it won't boot correctly. It will boot, you can get in, but it's going to throw a tantrum about it. I haven't got X to work on here yet, but we're getting there. Of course, these have got ISA VGA cards. This one looks like it might be a 520. No, it's a 256K. I think that's a Cirrus Logic. It's in there. It's got a little ribbon cable to carry the VGA signals to the back panel. Nice. And over here is the other 486 heckamajig I'm working on. So this shows up A1, A0 on the postcard, which leads me to believe that the cache RAM is bad. I found another cache chip somewhere else to try, but I can't use it because it's not the right one. It's the longer version of it. I don't want to play musical cache, but if I wanted to, I could swap them off with this good 386 board. I still gotta acid wash this thing just to make sure the garbage from the battery that leaked on here is out. It didn't leak very bad, it just barely leaked. But it leaked enough to make itself known. This board runs great. I'm waiting for the pain in the ass is it needs a 387DX coprocessor, which is probably why that one burned up, because I plugged the SX coprocessor into here and it got hot and didn't boot. And now I'm sure I burnt that up and it's ruined. So I need a 386DX, the 387DX coprocessor that fits into a PLCC socket, and that's almost impossible to get unless you take one off of the adapter, off the PGA adapter board. So what I'm thinking of is maybe just resolder the damn PLCC, which I never thought about soldering things onto a 386 motherboard in 1995, but now that it's 2024, almost 30 years later, this actually is 30 years old because it was built in 1994. I can solder a PGA socket on here and actually make it work. Plus I've got a 487 DLC coming for this, so that'll be cool. This is a PC Chips M326 version 5.2. And it will take 32 megs of RAM, which is awesome. I don't know why it says Toshiba on there, because I don't think it's really Toshiba. Well, whatever. Maybe somebody faked it. It's one of those computer shows. Alright, so this thing here, yeah, it boots up okay if you turn off the external cache, but if you turn the external cache on, I've tried rearranging these chips, and it just doesn't seem to like it. I've tried telling it that it doesn't have as much cache, but it still doesn't like it. So I'm not sure. That's a Styrix CX486DX40. I think I have a DX280 around here somewhere too. So while we're waiting, Linux is still booting. So this mess, the floppy controller and IDE controller here, that's a standard one. It's got the usual 2S, 1P, 1G, plus I think this relay board identifies as a parallel port, because it's got printer and machine logic. I'm guessing that machine logic is that second parallel port, because it says it's got two. Alright. Screwed up. Linux 226. This is a 1999 version. I think this is Slackware 8. Logging in as root. You'll never stop me. I've been logging in as root since 1993, man. Oh no. I forgot Slackware has quote of the day on this. Whoops, I forgot to set the date. Oh well, alright. See what the CPU has to say for itself. Nope, no FPU. Shoot. I can never get the damn thing to identify. Processor, vendor ID unknown. It's like, oh. Yeah, there's nothing about a floating point unit here. Root at Zap. I like the host name. CPU 386. But it doesn't say no PCI bus detected. Surprise, surprise. 2 serial ports. That's on the main 2S1P1G controller. And it can't find that SCSI controller. It found my cheapo Ethernet card here. It's an NE2000 plug and pray. But it just can't seem to find that other SCSI. 53C406, that's a one that's available in a PC variant, but I'll have to see if I can find a kernel that's got that compiled into it, that special one. I don't think it does. I don't think there is one, because it never was, I don't think it was ever available for the PC. Oh yeah, an E2000. Haha. Neat. Okay, well that's about it. I mean, everything's just laying in there, as usual. I got to boot it off a floppy because it doesn't properly detect my CF card, but once Linux loads, it fires right up. Alright, well, that is that. I'll see you later.